say John Brown killed your brothers and father only because they were both slavery men or because they struggled?
Then why did they spare me?
Well, can you be sure that he didn't just kill them because they were both slavery, or could they have struggled?
Well, if they asked me, why would they ask me?
Well, what exactly are you asking?
So then why would they ask me if I was sworn in?
Well, I'm asking you, why do you think that John Brown killed them because they struggled or because he was pro-slavery? He was opposed to slavery.
Personally.
How can you know that John Brown and his men killed? I mean, there could be different people who look just like John Brown. I mean, you don't have proof that he is the one who mutilated your family. You do not have proof that he is the one who did this.
Well, so what are you saying?
I'm asking you, where is your proof that John Brown is the one that killed or mutilated your family? Could have been his men.
Good. But I was there. I wasn't fighting.
Sit down. Defense, it's now your turn.
The Constitution clearly states that men have the right to own property. That is confirmed by the U.S. government. And slaves are property. Well, says the government. Anyways, so the Constitution is pretty much saying that men can do whatever they want with slaves. But the Constitution is made up of amendments. An amendment means that it can be changed. But what are we going to do to change this abomination of slavery? Because obviously compromises aren't working. Sure, the Missouri Compromise worked for about 30 years until the United States wanted to grow. All the compromises are doing is postponing the inevitable. War is inevitable if someone doesn't do something. And that is a fact because if the compromises were going to work, they wouldn't have changed them 3 times. My client, John Brown, realized that this is a major problem, and he knew that something had to be done. So he took action. He knew what he was doing was wrong. He knew that he could die for his actions. But he also knew that it was for the greater good. I mean, he was willing to do horrible things that he didn't want to do. He was willing to die just so the slaves could be free. And he knew that no one was brave enough to die for slaves' freedom, and he was. So John Brown should not hang for murder because he had a reason. I would like to call Mary Ann Brown to the stand, Your Honor. Mrs. Brown, I have a letter. Will you please read it that your husband wrote to you?
Dear wife and children, we start from here today and shall write you again when we stop, which will be in 2 or 3 days. I have just bought 8 barrels of flour for you, which will be shipped to Watson, care of James A. Allen Westboy. You can divide it amongst the different branches of the family, so to make all as comfortable as may be. If I should not be able to send you money to pay the freight, you can perhaps sell some of it to some of our neighbors for cash and pay the freight in that way. I shall try to send you some pork and some leather soon. I am trying to arrange so to have Henry come out and see me at Pile with Oliver if it can consistently be done. I shall write Oliver and any others when and where to find us. Also provide traveling expenses. They will not probably be called on before the middle of May, and possibly not so soon. May God bless you all. Yours ever, J. Brown.
Thank you, Mrs. Brown, for that. As you can see, Mr. Brown is a very caring father. Mrs. Brown, was Mr. Brown ever violent or abusive to you or your children?
No, of course not. He loved us.
So, John Brown was a very good family man, apparently. Mr. Brown would never hurt anyone unless it came to the situations that it's in, and he had to take action to stop it. Mrs. Brown, did your husband ever confront you about Harper's Ferry?
No, not until after it happened, though he told me he was going that way.
Did your husband tell about the things he did, or did you find out?
Rarely ever has my husband not told me what he was doing, but I knew what he did and supported him.
Do you believe that slavery is wrong?
I believe anyone being forced to do something against their will is wrong.
Do you believe that John Brown fought for the greater good? Why so?
I do believe he fought for the common people. America started out as fighting for freedom, and who are we to take it from others?
Thank you, Ms. Brown. That's,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, sorry.
Prosecution may cross-examine the witness.
You said that your husband was very kind and loving to you and your children, correct? But we have testimonies from your children saying that your husband was very abusive to them when they did wrong to make them do right. What's the real story here? Yours or your children's?
That's discipline.
Well, when he slaps them really hard, knocks them to the ground, what is that?
No answer.
If he's a very kind man, then how would he go against the federal armory to take it to kill whoever comes against him and to use it to use the arsenal, the ammunition to arm the slaves and have them kill their masters and everyone around, and then just start killing a lot of people?
Because to him, color doesn't matter.
Well, if color doesn't matter, then why does he want to free? I mean, if he wants to free, you want to all be free.
That's what he's doing. Or was doing.
Yeah, he seems right there. I have no more further questions.
Step down. Prosecution. You may begin.
After John Brown shot James P. Doyle and had his sons mutilate the other two, he walked on. He had his men march on to Alan Wilkinson's house. They were sleeping and they heard a dog rage, and that's what woke them up. And then they were talking, trying to discuss who it was outside in their yard. While they were discussing, someone outside interrupted and said, "I want you to show me the way to Dutch Hughes." Which I'll explain who that is in a second and what it means. But I will do that after I directly examine my second witness. Your Honor, I ask permission to call up Lucy Wilkinson. Your husband was also a member of the territorial legislature at Shawnee Creek Mission, also known as the Law and Order Party, correct?
Correct.
He was taken out and he was questioned and he was sent back in to get dressed, but they wouldn't let him get his boots on. Correct?
Correct.
You were sick with the measles, and so he was the only person that could care for you because your children were too young, 8 and 5. Correct? And you asked John Brown if he could, or if you could somehow find a neighbor to take care of you if your husband was prisoner. Correct? He was so-called taken prisoner because he answered a question of, are you a Northern Armist? He said, yes, I am. When he said, yes, I am, the Browns outside said, you are our prisoner. Do you understand? He said, yes, I do. I surrender peacefully. So he peacefully surrendered, saying that he was willing and he would not put up a struggle. Eyewitness, like, I have an eyewitness that I will have testify later that shows that he did not put up a struggle. But he was just taken out 200 yards from his house and killed and mutilated. So you never saw your husband's body because your neighbors would not let you see it because they thought it would make you worse off than you were before, correct?
Correct.
Your husband treated you very kindly, and your will was that he did not go outside when he was called outside, and so because he was very kind to you and he loved you, he stayed inside, which put him at risk for losing his life. That's proof that he's kind. And so why was he killed by under the direction of John Brown? How would any of you, especially you, how would you feel if your husband was killed for nothing? How would you feel if you were sleeping one night and then he was taken out and you found out the next day he was dead? And if that action is just John Brown ordered that he would be brutally killed, which is, as Mary Ann and John Brown said, very kind. I have no more questions for this
Defense, you may cross-examine.
Did you not say in your report that you heard struggling?
Yes, I heard my husband complain.
If your husband was struggling, possibly fighting against John Brown, how can you be sure that John Brown murdered? Perhaps your husband died because he tried to kill John Brown.
I refuse my husband murdered.
Well, you don't have proof that John Brown is the one who ordered. I mean, did you hear John Brown say, you need to mutilate this person? Did you hear John Brown say that? Or who you thought was John Brown? Okay, well, if you don't know that John Brown said that, how do you know? Why would John Brown be on trial when you don't even know if he's the one who murdered your husband? I mean, you don't know. I mean, none of us know if John Brown did this.
Objection. She made that assumption. She assumed that none of us knew. No, and still know. When some of us do know.
Overruled. Continue.
I asked the question, how can Miss Louise's husband is a good man if he beat and whipped others? I mean, I just want to be sure that, why would John Brown be on trial if you don't know? I mean, you just don't know if he's the one who did this. That's all I have to say.
I have an objection to that. She said that he beat